Welcome back to the video lecture series for Introduction to GIS. Today what we're going to talk about is data discovery and how to edit vector information. And you're going to have to bear with me today. I've lost my voice due to allergy season here in Virginia, but I'll do my best and we'll try to cover these topics. So most of the data that we've worked with so far in this class has only been given to us. So it's something you've downloaded from D2L, it's been zipped, and you haven't had to actually go out and find data yourself. So for example, maybe you're working for a consulting company and they needed you to find data. You would have to do it on your own. You'd have to go to the web and search for things. Or you would have to create that data yourself, whether this was through what we did yesterday, which was geocoding, or you collected it via GPS data. Or another very common method is to digitize or to draft or draw that information yourself. And so the digitizing process will be one of the focuses of today's talk, in addition to finding base maps that are different than ArcGIS Online base maps. So we'll walk through both of those processes. So the first thing that we need to do to start today's activity is to go to Labs, and we'll pull up the Lab 5 document. And so, as I mentioned before, this lab will help build GIS data creation skills. So one, we'll learn how to create a geodatabase and also how to create empty feature classes. But then we'll learn how to digitize information on a map. And then we'll also learn or review some key websites for downloading data. So basically what we need to do to start this activity is to download some base map data that will be rasters, and we're going to use these rasters to create vector information using the editing tools in ArcGIS Desktop. So the first thing that we need to do here is to go to the USGS Seamless site. Now, last semester when I taught this class, it was down due to the government shutdown, but now this website's available. But I want you to remember that there are other sources. So there's one, the Radford University GIS Center, which has a lot of data for Virginia, but USGS Seamless is really a great site to get a lot of data at the US level. To activate this hyperlink, well, we don't have to do that. We can just go to Google and type in USGS Seamless. And what we're going to use is the National Map Viewer and Download platform. It'd be a good idea for you guys to bookmark this page so you don't forget about it. So this pulls us to the USGS kind of intro site, and what we're going to do is go down here and we're going to click here to go to the National Map Viewer. So by now the basic map navigation tool should be pretty familiar to you. This looks very similar to ArcGIS Online. It works the same way. So what we're going to do for the purpose of this activity is we're going to download data for maybe where you grew up, your home, maybe where you live in Radford now, someplace you go for vacation, or maybe an area of interest. It doesn't matter, but some place that you're somewhat familiar with. And we're going to get an Orthophoto, which is basically an aerial photograph that's been terrain corrected. And we're also going to download a land cover map, which will represent the type of cover on the surface of the earth. So, for example, it'll tell us if the land is forested or maybe grassland or cropland or something like that. And we'll kind of use this information as a reference for the map that we're going to create. What we're basically going to do is we're going to digitize all of the roads in the area, any sort of structure. So a building, a house, a shed, or anything like that. We'll get mailboxes. We'll also draw in where there's forest or trees, and we'll also approximate the property boundary. So we'll be drawing both point, line, and polygon features using the orthophotographs and land cover data as base maps. So we'll go back here to the National Map Viewer, and I'm going to focus on maybe the place that I live at currently. So I'll zoom in here. find Blacksburg. And I live a little bit outside of town, so we'll zoom in over here. And let's see, Luster's Gate. Alright, so this looks like a good enough area for me to start the download. So you want to be zoomed in to an extent where, you know, it's not, you don't want to be zoomed in too far. You kind of want to see the general area as a whole. So, you know, my property's somewhere in this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this download data button, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me a couple options. It's going to say, hey, you can draw a box over an area. We'll download that. Or we can use a reference area, so there's a 24K index you could use, or we could use the entire map extent here, or you could actually input some coordinates. But for this, the easiest is to use a bounding box. So I'll click on this, and I'll just drag a box over this rough area to initiate the download dialog box. And in here it's going to say, hey, what sort of information do you want? Well, for this particular activity, we want land cover data, and we also want ortho imagery. Then we'll hit the next button. So I want current land cover data, so I'm going to go down here and find the 2006 land cover file. Make sure I'll check that, and then I'll expand the ortho imagery box, and it gives me options for two different types of data. It looks like there's data from 2012 that's at 1 meter resolution, or there's data from 2007 that it's a third of a meter resolution. So for this activity, I'll probably go with the newer stuff, even though it's not as high a resolution. So I'll check this option, and I'll again hit the next button. What this is going to do is it's going to add our data to our cart. It's kind of like a purchase cart you might use on the internet, but you don't have to pay anything for this. So we'll just go click checkout, and it will ask me for my email address. So I go ahead and type that in. And then I place my order. Gives you a confirmation number and tells you that very shortly you should receive an email. So there's an email from the National Map Viewer, and it gives us links to download the information that we need. So I'll click here to download my my land cover data. And then I'll go back to the other link to download my ortho imagery data. So it looks like one of my downloads failed. So you may yourself encounter a similar problem. So something seems to be wrong with the 2012 ortho imagery. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my my USGS Seamless Data Viewer, and I'll try to do another download, again with a bounding box, but this time I'm only going to check ortho imagery. I'll hit next, and this time I'll try the 2007 data. I'll hit next. Again, it adds products to the cart. I'll go in and I'll check out. It still has my email, so I'll hit place order. And again, I'll wait for that to come through to my email. There it is. And so this time it gave me a link to two files because it basically breaks them up into tiles. So this is image 1 of 2 and 2 of 2, which should cover my entire area. So again, I'll click those links and the downloads start. There it is. I'll go back to my other one and click to download that one as well. Okay, now I use Chrome, so if I want to see the files that I've downloaded, I go up here and I click on this box and go to the downloads option, and it will show me a list of all the things that I've recently downloaded. And then I can click the show in folder button, and that will actually take me to the folder where this data has been stored. And in this case, it went to my downloads folder under my username. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these 3 files, which are also zip files, and I'm going to go to my documents and create a new folder called Lab 5. I'm going to paste that data into that new folder, and then I'm going to unzip or uncompress each one of those files to my Lab 5 destination. Okay, great. So now I have 3 folders which contained the unzipped data. I don't need the compressed stuff anymore, so I will highlight all of that and delete the 3 zipped folders. Now, remember that we never want to do file management within Windows Explorer, so what we'll do now is we'll go to our catalog and or arc map, and we'll start a new map. We'll go to catalog and we'll refresh our documents folder so that we can see all the most current stuff in there, and I can expand Lab 5, and I see that I have several different files that are in these folders that we downloaded. So for the purpose of this exercise, we're going to want to add the rasters that have a spatial reference. And sometimes you'll get data from USGS Seamless that does not have a spatial reference, or it's at least not linked properly. So I'm going to go with the very first one here in this list, and I'm going to right-click on it and go to Properties, just because I want to review some of the information about it before I get started. And I can see here that this data is has a spatial reference for coordinate system that's using the NAD83 datum, and it's in UTM zone 17 north. So you know, I know where this is in the world. I know that's the right UTM zone. I see that the data has a spatial reference, and so I'm going to go ahead and add that first file to the map. And you know, it kind of looks black and white, which is a little interesting. So I'm going to go back to catalog, and I'm going to add the second file to the map as well. And when it asks you if you want to build pyramids, hit yes. That basically has to do with how things display. It makes it display a little bit quicker. And look what happened. The second image does not have a spatial reference. So that's going to tell me that image is the wrong one to use. So I'm going to go hit remove, and you know, that's the reality of the situation is this. Well, this is the data that we got. Some data is better than others, so we're just going to have to proceed with it. So I'm going to go down to my second folder. Again, check the properties on this one, and everything looks good in NAD UTM zone 17 north. So I'll add that file to the map as well, and these should link together because they're different tiles that make up the map area. And then lastly, I'm going to go down and do the same thing with my land cover data. So I'm going to check that and scroll down. See that one has no spatial reference. So I'll go to the next one, look at that one, and this one does, but it's in the Albers conical equal area. So it's actually different, but that's okay since we're just kind of using this as a reference. I'll add this to the map, and again it says, hey, do you want to build pyramids? Yes, because it displays faster. And then because this is in a different coordinate system, well, I thought we would get an error or a warning message, but we didn't. So that's okay. So we're good. We got all of our data here in the map, and I'll turn a couple things off and now zoom to my area of interest. So what I have to do here is I have to actually find my property in this map. So we see here, okay, there it is. I've identified it. It's this house right here, so I'm going to zoom into my area of interest a little bit more. And you know, it might be okay to include some of your neighbors as well. So I'm going to kind of get this area just like this. Okay. Excuse me. And so now that we've located the area of interest, the next thing that I need to do is create a geodatabase so that we can make some empty feature classes and begin the digitizing process. So I'm going to go here into my catalog and minimize the things in Lab 5. I'm going to right click on Lab 5, which is our magic click. I'm going to go to New. I'm going to create a new personal geodatabase. You know, in most situations, the personal geodatabase is just fine. The only real difference between that and a file geodatabase is the size that it can be. So a personal geodatabase is going to be limited to about, I think it's 500 gigabytes. But in most cases, that is just fine. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in a new name for it, which is Lab 5 vector data. And so what I've done here is I've made an empty geodatabase. And one of the things you want to do right off the bat is to go into here and go into the properties and just double check that everything's okay. So yeah, we see the name, we see the path, and we don't need to set any domain. So we're okay. We click OK. And we go back to the catalog, and now we will right click again on the geodatabase, and we'll go New. And we're going to create a feature class, which is going to represent a type of geographic object that we're representing on the surface of the Earth. So to start off, what we're going to do is we're going to create a roads feature class. So I'll click feature class. I'll type in roads. And then you have to be very careful to change the type of feature class. So roads are not a polygon, they are a line. So you have to make sure that you check line feature. And I'll hit next. And here we have to set the coordinate system. We want it to match the underlying data that we're using as the base map. So that is projected UTM NAD83 zone 17 north. Now for you, it will be whatever you referenced when you checked the properties of the ortho imagery that you downloaded. So you just got to be very careful to match the projection coordinate system. In this particular exercise, we're not going to worry about an XY tolerance, so we'll hit next. But we do want to add a new field so that we can label the roads. So I'm going to click here under field name and type in street, no spaces, name. And I'm going to set this up as a text type field. And we'll hit finish. Okay. Now, I'm going to go back to the catalog and do that same process for buildings or structures. So I'll type in structures. But in this case, it's going to be a polygon. So we'll leave that as it is. We'll hit next. It's somewhat intelligent, and it knows that I've already set a feature class already to NAD83 UTM17. So I'll hit next. We'll continue with the same properties, but here I'm going to type in a field name called address. Make it a text and hit finish. We also want to know where the mailboxes are, so I'll create another feature class and I'll call it mailbox. But this is going to be a point feature. Next and next. And we have no real attributes for this, so we can simply leave that one blank. And we also want to know where the forest or the trees are, so we'll go new feature class again, and we'll type in trees. In this particular one, we'll do a polygon feature, since we'll probably have continuous or large tracts of land that are covered by trees. we don't have any attributes to store for that one either. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go back and we'll reference our lab sheet. See what other features we need. So we need roads, structures, mailboxes, forests and trees, and also the property boundary. So I'll go back here into Catalog, and I'll right click again and go New, Feature Class, and I'll call this Property. Hit Next. That will also be a polygon feature since it's a lot that we're going to be drawing. So we'll hit Next. Again, that's fine. And we're not going to store any attribute information for this, so we'll hit Finish. Okay, so notice that every time I created a new feature class in my empty Geodatabase, in Catalog, in ArcMap, it automatically added that feature class to my table of contents. So, to start the editing process, all I have to do is right-click in the toolbar area and turn on the Editor Toolbar. I like to dock my toolbar in my toolbar area, and so here's access to all my tools for editing, but I want you to notice how they're all grayed out, and that's because we have not yet started an editing session. So to do that, we click the down arrow on the editor and we start an editing session. And it says, hey, I noticed that you have two different, or some data coming from different areas. What exactly is it that you want to be working on or editing? And in this case, we want to make sure that we're editing the personal geodatabase. So we'll click OK, and it says, hey, something's going on. The spatial reference in this case does not match what the data frame is. Do you want to continue editing or do you want to stop editing? Well, we need to check and see what's going on, so we'll hit Stop Edit. So to check the spatial reference of the data frame, we'll right-click on it and go to Properties. Click on Coordinate System, and we see that we're in NAD 83, UTM, Zone 17 North. So, you know, I know that I've actually set my data to the same thing, but just to be on the safe side, I'm going to go back to Projected. I'm going to hit UTM, NAD 83, 17 North. Even though I know I've already done this, I'll click OK, and then I'll go back and restart an edit session. Now I've got no errors. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is put in my mailbox. And I want you to notice that as soon as you start an edit session, you get this editing dialog box that pops up, and it gives you access to a bunch of templates you can use to edit and draw data. Sometimes the things you want to edit do not pop up in this dialog box, and so you can add them by clicking on this button and going to New Template, and you can add different items if they didn't pop up by default. Basically, if you have something turned off in your table of contents, it will not show up in your Create Feature dialog box. So points are by far the easiest feature to digitize. All you do is you click on the feature and you go to your map, and my mailbox happens to be across the street from my house, so you click there and you have a point. Very simple. The next thing I'm going to do is draw the property bounds. So I'll go up here to the property feature class, and I'll click on that button, and I'm going to stick with the freestyle polygon construction tool, and I'm going to zoom in here so I can kind of follow the road, and I know that it's roughly here following this ridge. I can click, and each time you click, one of those dots is called a vertice. And while you're editing, you can use the scroll bar or these arrows to kind of move. And so I'll continue clicking down here until I get to basically this, there's a fence line that we can just barely see. And I'll follow that. I'll get back down to the road, and you really want to be zoomed in pretty close when you do this digitizing. The closer you are, the easier it is to draw. And the reason I'm not going directly to the road is because I happen to know that there's a right-of-way in that area, so it's about 3 feet off of the road that is the property that is actually owned. But it doesn't really matter for this exercise. We're just kind of approximating things. It's more about learning to use the tools than anything else. Okay, so I'll go back to where I started from, and then I'll right-click and hit Finish Sketch. You can also double-click to finish a sketch if you want. And so now I have a polygon feature that represents the property bounds where my house is. And so in this particular case, it's filled in and it's obstructed my view of everything else that's underneath it. And so I can't draw anything else in if I can't see underneath it. So one option is to turn it on or turn it off. The other is to go in and to actually pick a different symbology method to show that area. So I'll do that. Okay, great. So now I have property bounds. I have a mailbox that will maybe go in and make a different symbol. And then now we'll zoom in and we'll actually do the house. And so you want to really zoom in as close as you can. And here you can really see what a cell looks like. And remember, cells make up rasters, so they're these little grids that are similar to pixels in a camera picture. And so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on my structures feature class. And I'm going to do the best I can to trace these things, and you want to make sure your lines and your angles are similar to what you might experience in the real world. So remember, houses are square. So you really want to try to not have a house that looks like a triangle, right? And so I'll double click to finish that sketch, and then I'll zoom out some. And just so I can see these things a little bit better, I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn the structures. I'm going to make it this rose color, I think. There we go, that's nice. Okay, great. So now I have to draw some features that basically represent all of the forested area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this land cover map. And you can see the stuff in green is what it considers to be forest. But if I turn this off and look at my orthophotograph, it's not exactly the case. And so maybe the resolution of this land cover data isn't quite appropriate for me to model forest, but I can see where maybe some scientists have used remote sensing data to roughly determine where the forests are. But I'm going to not maybe go with that in this particular case, because I can clearly see where the forest boundary is and where the grass starts. So I'm going to click here on trees, and I'm going to actually do a little bit of a bigger area to start off here. So I'm going to click on trees, and I'm just going to start up here at the very top of my map. And I'm going to go over here, and I'll come down to here, and I'm going to kind of trace around these tree lines. And again, the closer in that you zoom, I'm being kind of, approximate here for the sake of time. You'd really want to zoom in much closer so that you could, get really fine level of detail, but it will take me too long. So I'll zoom out again, and I'll continue tracing this forested area. Just come up here. And sometimes you have to really make a call if there's a single tree kind of by itself, if you want to include that. But I think you're kind of getting the picture here. So we'll again follow in around here. And I'll, oh, what happened? Let's see, so I'll have to zoom back to my stuff. So I'm going to right click on property and hit zoom to layer. Okay, there we go. And I'll go around here. to the bottom of the map. Oh, what just happened? Let's see. Hit escape. There we go. Zoom in here. So you can always use the scroll bar while you're digitizing. So we'll go down here, over here, and we'll kind of follow the road, and come up here, and then you know, it's tricky because of the symbology. So I can actually go in and change that real time, or can I? No, it's not going to let me. But you can still see kind of the transparency, and so I know that there's kind of some trees that stop right around here. We'll go like so. Follow very close to the back of the house. We'll zoom over here and finish off the sketch. And we can double click to end. Excuse me. So that was a difficult, excuse me, digitizing, because I did one very large polygon unit. I'm going to go in here and pick a symbology that's maybe more appropriate to trees. So right here we see there's scattered trees. That's great. So I click that, turn it on. I think I actually want to make this somewhat transparent. So I'm going to go into my properties, go to display, and I'm going to make my transparency at 50%, and we'll hit OK. And I like that now. So everything's looking good. And if I wanted to do other trees, I could go back in and I could create more than one kind of polygon. So I could do this as a separate feature, get this tree area. Right, and so on. Maybe I could get this section right here, or as much as you want, right? But we'll go ahead and just continue on. So now I've digitized a couple features, and one of the things with ArcMap is it's very picky. It sometimes crashes, so I recommend that you save edits very frequently. So now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit closer. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to clear my selected features because I want to digitize, and I think I'm going to digitize in some of the structures on the neighbor's property just for the sake of this map. So I'll click in here, draw in the barn, and I'll draw in the house and the sheds. Right click to finish sketch, and lastly I'll get this one. Okay, great. Alright, so I'm going to actually make those a little bit brighter, just because it's kind of hard for me to see them right now. And I'm going to change my property boundary. Instead of red, I'm going to make it, I think, blue. Oh, that's the wrong one. Fill color would be none. Outline color would be blue. Okay, great. All right, that's good. We'll again clear selected features so we don't have anything highlighted. I'm actually going to go in and change my transparency to 25% instead of 50. Okay, good. And we got the mailbox, and so the very last thing that we need to do here is to get the roads in there. So I'm going to go here and click on roads. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit better here because we can see there's this road. So I'll click on road. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to simply trace the run of the road. You might want to turn off some of your other features so that you don't snap to them. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to double click to end this. And one thing that I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to attribute this information. So I'm going to click on my edit tool, this one right here. I'm going to right click on that feature that I just drew. I'm going to go into attributes. and now it allows me to type in an attribute edit dialog box the name of that street. So I'm going to call that Deer Run. And I'll hit enter. And now I've made an edit into the attribute table of the roads. It also tells me the length and other information about it. Now there's also this main road right here, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to close or go click here on this tab, the Create Features tab. I'm going to get my roads again, and I'm going to click down the length of this line. I'm going to want to make sure to snap to the end of that feature because roads do connect. I'm going to stop right here. And then you can also, well, we don't have to edit that one. Okay, so good. So we got the main roads, and I'm actually going to go in and grab the edit tool again and right click on that new road, and I'm going to go to attributes. I'm going to type in Harding Road. Okay, excellent. So now I've done all of the digitizing that I need to do. So again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit Save Edits very frequently so I don't lose anything. Oh, and I just hit the Zoom to Full Extent button, so I'm going to hit Back to get back to where I was. Now I'm going to center this map a little bit and go back to my lesson so I can see what else we need to do. So we needed to digitize all of these features, which we have, and then we want to symbolize them so they're visible and cartographically pleasing, which I think we've done. One thing that we did not do is label the house with an address and any roads. We did edit the attribute table of roads, but we didn't label them, and we didn't edit the attribute table of house. So we'll need to go do that. So we'll go back to the map. I will grab my editing tool and right-click on the house and hit attributes. And so it looks like I did not. Oh, there we go. If we click on structures, we got the address option. And so we'll type in 3356 Deer Run Road. And so there we have an actual address. And so we'll go ahead and save that so that all of our edits are made permanent. And so now what I can do is I can right-click on structures and I can hit Label Features. And there we have 3356 Deer Run Road. But it's kind of hard to see, so I'm actually going to show you how to manipulate how the labels display. So we'll right-click, go to Properties of Structures, and I want you to click on the Labels tab. And we're going to go over here, we're going to click on Symbol, and we're going to hit Edit Symbol. And I want you to click on the Mask tab and give this thing a halo. What that'll do, it'll give a little white border around the label so that we can very easily see that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the label for roads as well. So we'll go to Label Features, and then we'll right-click and we'll go to Properties. And under the Labels tab, we'll do the same thing we did for structures. So I'll hit Edit Symbol, and Mask, and Halo. Okay. Great. So now we have Deer Run, we have Harding Road, we have the house labeled, we have a mailbox, which is very hard to see. So I'll go in and I'll make this green. So now all of our features are very visible. And we've done most of the things we need to for this lab other than make a professional map. So we'll go to Layout View and pick whether or not you want to do portrait or landscape. I think I'm going to switch to the landscape option so that I can maximize my map area. So now I'll resize my map. Okay. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this area so that I can really see the only the stuff that I care about. And I'm going to use this hand to kind of center the property, right? So we'll have something that looks like that. I'm going to make sure everything is visible. There we go. Next thing I'm going to do is insert a title, but I'm going to use I'm going to use a text box. Hit it's kind of odd. It drops it in the middle of the map, so I'll double click that and right click and go to, let's see, we have to move it. There we go. So we've moved it up here, and we can double click on it, and we can type in, let's see, we'll type in my house. You always want to make sure your title is very descriptive, and we'll hit OK. But that's kind of a small title, so I'm going to double click on it again to get back into the properties. I'm going to change the symbol, and I'm going to bump the text size up to about 20 and hit OK and hit apply. And that's a good size, so I'm OK. So I'll hit OK. It's centered. Everything looks pretty good. So the next thing I'll do is I'll insert a scale bar, and I'll move that to this area of my map. And 0.06 miles is a very odd unit, so I'm going to rescale that to something that makes more sense. 1 mile will work, even though that's kind of a big scale bar. I also want to insert a north arrow. Then we need a legend. And you have to really think about legend placement. And in this map, there's really no good place to put a legend on the outside. So I'm going to actually drop the legend into the interior of the map area. So I'm going to hit Insert Legend. And I don't need these images in my legend items. So I'll move those out. And all I want is mailboxes, roads, properties, structures. I also want trees. So I'm going to have to hit Cancel and turn trees back on. Okay, very good. And to be honest, I really don't like the fill color of that, so I'm going to hit no color on the fill and just bump that up to 2. So yeah, that'll do. I'm actually going to manipulate the transparency a little bit more. It's up to you. You'll go back and forth as a cartographer. You just really got to kind of figure out what works best, and that looks okay. So we'll move forward. So again, I'll go hit Insert, and I need to put my name and also some sources and a date. So I'm going to hit Text. Notice it's dropped a text box there in the center of the map again. I'll move this over here. Double click to edit it. I'll type in my name, hit Enter. The date, and also my sources. So this would be USGS Seamless. Hit OK, and that text size looks okay in the situation. So we got north arrow, everything except for that legend. So we'll go back, hit the legend, again remove. We want structures, but we don't want our ortho imagery. So we got mailbox, roads, properties, trees, and structures. So we'll hit Next. And we really don't need a title. Most people know that a legend is a legend. So I'll delete that word. And I'm going to put a border around this one and also a background, a white background, because I'm going to put this over the map. So so we picked background, white, next, and then next, and finish. And now it's giving me this nice legend that I can maybe drop right here. One thing, people often read maps in a Z-like pattern, so this is very good map layout. It's got a good title, and it's got all the other map components, so everything looks good. And what we'll do for final submission is we'll go to File, Export Map, and in this case, I'm just going to pick a PDF, export it as my house, and we'll put it in my Lab 5 folder. And I'll hit Save. And now I should have this map saved as a PDF in my Lab 5 folder. So you could send this to a client, you could send it to your parents, you could link it to a website, you could do virtually anything you want with it. So we've done some very important things in this lab. One, we've learned how to find base map information and download it ourselves. We've also learned how to create a geodatabase. We learned how to edit features. We learned how to digitize, and we also reviewed how to export maps. So that's all that we have for this lesson. Please upload your map submission in the D2L Dropbox, and we'll pick up with a new topic tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.